With the same type of people, same exact everything. But
I'm getting about 1,000 milliliters here. Now let's make the lung stiffer.
So you would have to decrease then, Mary? You would decrease the IPAP?
To get,
You said that you would get
I'm just showing her right now what happens if the compliance of the lung
We're going to have
changes.
to increase the iPad.
You would need a higher
Took it all the way
pressure.
off.
Yeah.
Okay.
How would you know what the initial settings for iPad
They give it to you, the doctor.
Now the compliance of the lung changed,
Kind of said like 10 over 4.
and my tidal volume dropped by 300 milliliters.
What is it, Mayor?
We changed the compliance of the lung. And even though I didn't change the pressure or EPAP or the IPAP, the tidal volume dropped by 300 milliliters because the lung is stiffer
Right, so we have to increase the iPad
in order to get a higher tidal volume.
Okay.
So that's how you would know if you had increase
Huh?
or decrease. You'd have to look at what
I don't hear what you're saying.
we're just talking it out.
Like a Jersey Shore doctor
Okay.
came in, he was like, put them on BiPAP, and he goes,
So if I were to
4,
change my IPAP, I would have
and he
to
said
go
something
into
else. I knew
parameters.
it was 10.
So you would say that to
4.
the doctor then, Mary. You would say, I know you want them on a whatever it is, a 10, but their tidal volume is at this. Do you think we should bring them
Exactly
up,
right.
down, whatever?
Exactly right. And you have to make that decision a lot because you're going to assess your patient prior to putting them on this. You're going to assess your patient while they're on this so that you will be making a lot of that judgment call. The doctor may say, I want 10 over 5. Well, you put the patient on here and you're getting a tidal volume of 200. You need to then make the adequate adjustment to give that patient sufficient tidal volume. And you have to call the doctor and say, I have the patient set on these settings. I have him on 10 over 5 and I'm giving him 30%. Now, when it comes to the FiO2, you have a lot of autonomy. In other words, by that I'm saying you can actually titrate the FiO2 without ever calling him. And then call him up and say, okay, I changed the FiO2 to this, and tell him why.
What's the maximum the BiPAP will go to, 100%?
FiO2, yeah. If you have it hooked up to oxygen.
Right.
Yeah, is this like when you change, like let's say you increase the IPAP on this, does your, like I know how it is on the gun, I think if you increase the I, the E changes too?
No, different thing.
That's
We're not
not on
talking
this.
about IE ratio.
Right,
We're
this
talking
is
about
different.
EPAP and IPAP.
Okay, so if you increase that, the E's not gonna change.
Right, no.
Okay.
It's going to change the it's going to change the flow so that it maintains the same IE ratio.
Wouldn't you have to change the,
Mm-hmm.
because Joanne said when you change the iPad,
You have to change
have to
it
change
because
it.
it has to meet that certain pressure. So say the doctor only ordered a pressure of 15 and you have the IPAP at 5 and the EPAP
I
at
think
10.
she's saying that because of stacking.
Okay.
Like do you like
Because a lot of times, no, you're going to change the IPAP without changing the EPAP. Remember, you're trying to get a specific volume into the patient's lung. If he wants to maintain the same pressure, and this will apply mostly to little people, if the doctor wants 20 over 5 and all he wants is 20 over 5, if you have to change the IPAP, then yes, you have to change the EPAP. But if you're trying to change the patient's volume, you can change one without changing the other.
so you would have to notify the doctor and tell him that changed the pressure, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And let's talk about the the airway pressures on this machine. Typically, the pressures, what do we want to see on the BiPAP? 28?
EPAP and IPAP are the mean airway pressure.
The
What does mean airway pressure mean? What does that mean? What are you talking
The
about?
pressure over entire cycle.
That's the total pressure that remains in the airway at all times.
Right.
And you don't want to see I would say no more than 9 to 11. And that also applies when you're talking about mechanical ventilator.
But
You
it's
want to try
higher
to keep.
in the ventilators, isn't it? Isn't the mean
I've seen
pressure like
19.
19?
I was gonna say,
No.
my one patient was at,
8.9.
my one
No.
lady was at a mean airway pressure of 28.
Then she must have had some serious. Was she
a-
stacking or was she
No, she
very
had-
non-compliant?
area.
That's a whole nother animal.
But typically we
So
want to
you're saying
see about
normal
a
would be
9.
9 to 11, yeah. You
Okay.
don't want a high mean airway pressure. Think about what positive pressure does when you're pushing it into the airway. It
Pressure
affects the
in your-
heart
right.
because it's squeezing on the heart inside the lung. It affects all of your cardiovascular system. It's going to decrease your blood pressure. It's going to change your cardiac output. The higher that mean airway pressure is, the more damage you're doing to the cardiovascular system in the heart and the thoracic cavity.
Through the whole
Forgot where I was.
What's
Talking
the,
about changing
in the
the
lab report, it mentions something about,
The gaps.
The gaps in the face, like there's spacers to put on.
Oh,
the
okay,
gap.
we didn't even get to that yet,
Okay.
we're still on the
Okay.
machine. Okay, now, I have here a mode button. This machine will do CPAP or BiPAP. If I want to do CPAP, right now I'm in BiPAP because it's telling me ST, which is spontaneous time. It's giving me the mode, it's giving me the parameters. It's telling me about my alarms up here, my eye time and my rise time. If I want to change back to CPAP, I hit mode. And now I get CPAP up in the corner here, but I also change mode. Where's that other thing? Oh, I didn't go to parameters. Mode. CPAP.
Do you have to hit the button next to CPAP? And then back to.
No, there's a button. Oh, yeah, CPAP. Now down here it says, do you really want to change the mode? And you have to hit that button, otherwise it'll go back to ST. So you have to hit this mode here, tell the machine, yes, I really want to change the
So
mode.
the ST is the BiPAP.
Right.
So that changes the mode.
So if I want to go back, mode, ST, and then this one actually starts blinking at you. When it starts blinking at you, you have to hit it to let you know that you really want to change the mode. And then I'm back in ST. I have other options here. For example, I can change it from a line graph to a bar graph. I kind of like the bar graph.
Now, during the checkup, are you going to want us to change all of this, or you're going to tell us, or do you want us to do stepwise, like just
No,
do
just,
it?
you know, ask you to change this to this to this. Okay, so you can change it from a line graph to a bar graph.
Now, are you going to give us like different like scenarios, and we have to change it based on that, or is it just going to be?
Basically, pretty much, yeah. Give you a patient scenario based on the patient's diagnosis, whether it's COPD or
So
pulmonary
can we
edema.
go over a couple of those?
Okay, well, yeah, let's finish
Okay.
up with the lab here first. Are we okay?
We have to answer all
Yeah,
these
we have an hour.
questions.
We still have to do math.
I'm just wanting to say it before I say out.
Did you roll these?
I can change the coloring on my screen, which is, you know, kind of a new form.
I like blue, Mary.
I can change the contrast and the brightness.
Oh, let's make it brighter.
Brightness. Did it help?
No.
Ain't doing nothing. Ain't changing
Oh, yeah.
nothing.
It's as high as it could be, yeah.
Okay.
wait, I'm gonna have to talk to some of these vendors about getting us a new.
Huh?
So I'm gonna have to talk to some of these vendors about getting us a new. Yeah.
Am I blocking it?
You don't have to.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing anything.
So
good.
the little hose on top of the filter is for
Pressure. That's your pressure. And like I say, if you hook it in the back here, you can give the precise FiO2, hit the FiO2 button. Remember, in order to change parameters, you have to be in the parameter mode, not in the monitor mode.
Am I
Are
bothering
you
you?
finished? No,
No, I'm
wait till you
fine.
finish.
No, I'm fine.
We're videotaping it.
Yeah.
Huh?
We're just videoing it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is the one you'll see in a lot of the hospitals. But like I say, there's another one now that's even
The V60,
yeah,
hospital.
even more up to date. Let's turn this thing off.
This one's the vision for the newer one.
I'm sorry.